Hi there, I'm Stacy, the encaustic mixed media artist behind Studio Stacy. This week's video is a lot more building and constructing than painting, but I thought it'd be interesting for you to see how we create these wood cradled panels that I paint on. So I'm taking you along through the entire process. Hope you enjoy. First step is to calculate the amount of lumber that we need for the amount of panels that I want to make. And Matt is the mathematician here, so he gets this fun part. And in case you're wondering, it was 7 pieces of hardboard and 114 feet of frames. Good morning. Just going to bundle up to head outside, and it doesn't look like it's cold out, but it is frigid. And by frigid, I mean it is in the single digits, might get up to the teens today, but it is cold. However, the sun is out and it's dry, so we're gonna go out and try to cut some panels for this new series. Thankfully, Matt is a wonderful, supportive husband and doesn't mind the cold because, like I said, it's frigid. It's chilly.
Alright, why don't you kind of press in the middle? I'm going to guide you, just kind of keep it down. I'll try to guide you. Ready?
Moving into the garage now, we have the heater going, which does help us keep somewhat warm. But we're now going to be starting to cut and measure and mark all of the frames or the bases that these hardboards go on. Good morning. We woke up to a beautiful winter wonderland and a lovely sunrise. It's a little chilly again, but we're bundled up and we're headed back out to the garage. This time we're going to be making and nailing in the frames for these hardboards and hopefully even maybe perhaps gluing some of the tops down. We are on day 4 or 5, I think, of making the frames. Anyways, headed back out to the garage, and it is another cold one, so got bundled up and ready to go. And in the meantime, this is what's happening outside. Woo, bright light. Winter Wonderland. I don't know if you can see, but it is lightly snowing. Today's plan is to make some of the bigger panels, or assemble some of the bigger panels. And the bigger panels have this center support in them just for some added support because they're pretty large panels. So that today's plan is to get these larger panels assembled and glued down and, of course, nailed down. And because it wouldn't be a day with Matt if there wasn't a few shenanigans. Here you go. And apparently Matt's a little too tall for the camera because the top of his head got cut off.
What do you think the center is?
Does it not look like the center?
It's fine.
Is this the center? The reality of what it looks like to live with an artist. Panels are everywhere.
Don't forget the big one down there.
Oh yes. Panels are everywhere. And for every nail hole that we've made in these frames and tops of the hardboards, they all now need to be filled in. So that is the next step in this process. Good morning. Happy Saturday. I don't know if you can hear that whirling going on in the background, but we are headed outside. I have 2 more big panels to make. I don't know if this is day number 6, 7, however many days this is on making these wood cradle panels, but it's Saturday, so of course Matt's off. So bundling up because it is chilly. I think it's like 12 or 14 degrees out. At any rate, it's cold. So we're going to bundle up. I'm going to try to get the wood cut down for the 2 panels. And I think with the leftover pieces, we'll probably make some smaller panels as well. And then we are going to sand down some of the areas. Matt had already put some wood filler in all the nail holes on some previous panels. So we're going to sand those down. And yeah, let's start this process. Say hi to the people.
Hi, people.
Dear Home Improvement Store.
It's not that important. The sticker sticks that much.
Moving inside with this panel construction project, and I'm going to be experimenting again with some of the various different gessos, this time on to some scrap pieces of panel that we cut off. Here is after one coat. This is the chalk gesso. This is the regular case and gesso. So you can see the case and gesso has much more coverage to it. And I would show you here what is happening in this space. So these are all scrap pieces from the frame boards, the hardboard. And basically what I wanted to do was apply the different gessos to it. So I'm using, sorry about the glare there, this is Sinopia case and gesso. And then I'm also using chalk. Oh gosh, the shadows are really bad here. Sorry about that. Chalk gesso from Sinopia. But I wanted to show you because this is all hardboard from the same hardware store, same lumber yard, but hopefully you can see the difference here. This one is slightly different than this one, if you can tell. And also, if you can tell here, this is the same gesso on the two different boards. So this is more like this one. And you can see, oh gosh, that shadow's bad. All right, let me zoom in here. Hopefully you can see this one is really orangey, yellowy, creamy versus this one. Same gesso, two different hardboards from the same exact manufacturer. So I reached out to Sinopia once again, and like I say, I can't recommend this gesso company enough based on their quick response time. You can see this one is also very, very yellow, and it goes on white and then it turns this orangey, yellowy, creamy color. So what the manufacturer recommended us doing, or me doing, was to apply a layer of shellac over the board, because what they think is happening is they think it is leaching out any glue or residue or what have you is leaching out into the board, and that shellac should seal that in. Now, strangely enough, the same board does not do that with the RNF gesso. This is the RNF gesso. It is quite white. Sorry about that shadow. Let me just zoom in like this. It is quite white compared to this one, as you can see there. And the chalk gesso is also quite white compared to this creamy one. So for whatever reason, the case and gesso, which is this one, is making these same exact boards go a bit more orange. However, what I think I'm going to do is, because some of the boards don't do it, some of them do, I'm going to put down a layer of shellac on all of them. So really all of that to say is that the lesson here, and I've done this every time I've created hardwood panels, is to put your layer of gesso down on a scrap piece, experiment, and make sure it looks how you want it to look. And yeah, don't just jump in to your big, massive boards. Whether you're buying them through a company like an art supplier, or you're making them on your own, I always recommend experimenting around, if you can, with either a smaller panel, like buy 2 panels, or your scrap pieces of wood, and that way you're not ruining an entire large panel. You're not ruining an entire large panel. Welcome to the spare bedroom, also known as where I store all of these panels. So Matt got these all sanded down and they are now ready for me. So next step is to get the edges taped off and get them out of the spare bedroom. Just wanted to show you the state of the studio. I have panels spread out everywhere, ready for the next stage, which is to put some shellac down. And in case you are concerned, don't worry, I left myself an escape route. I'm not blocked in. Good morning. Those panels down there, I can't point in the right direction, down there, are now dry. The shellac is dry on them. So the next step is to put down some gesso, and I'm super excited because this is kind of one of the last steps before I can paint on these panels. So the gesso I've decided to use is the Sinopia Cason gesso, and in fact I got 2 gallons of it, and I think that's going to be enough. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it's going to be enough for at least 2 coats and maybe have a little extra. So we'll see, but yeah, that's the gesso I decided to go with for this series, and I will link them below in case you're curious about them. And also, if you happen to miss my trials and tribulations in the gesso world, I won't go blabbering on about that, but I will put a link up here for you to check it out if you want to see a gesso comparison video. And the last thing I wanted to mention before I start applying the gesso to these panels is somebody had asked about a price difference between several different gessos. So I mainly have used R&F in the past. I'm switching over to Sinopia Cason gesso for these panels. R&F gesso by the gallon is $106 and some change. The Cason gesso by Sinopia is $85. So about a 21-ish price difference. Now, I did not choose to go with Sinopia specifically for the price difference. I actually went with them because of their outstanding customer service. And the gesso seems like a wonderful product. So, yeah, so just to kind of give you a little bit more behind the scenes of why I chose this particular gesso, that is why. Good morning. I'm going to put a third coat on these panels of gesso, and then I think I'm done with the gesso portion. So one more coat today, and I'm going to let that dry and then see how the coverage looks. So I thought I'd show you here, flip the camera around, and you can see like some areas are just slightly thicker, and that was my own doing in the paint than others. So a third coat might not be completely necessary, but I figured it also can't hurt. And then one other thing I just wanted to mention is I am taking the gesso out of this big gallon container, and I'm putting it into a smaller container of the Cason gesso that I have for 2 reasons. One, in case there's something on the board, if I dip my paintbrush into this big gallon container and I contaminate it, then I've ruined an entire gallon of gesso versus a smaller container. And two, this is easier to pour out of. So just a little maybe quick artist tip if you hadn't thought of that. It's good not to go directly into your large container of gesso just in case. I've got my supplies ready to go, including an audio book, The Hidden Life of Trees. It's really good. I highly recommend it. The nice thing about kind of these mundane, not too much to think about prepping projects is that I get to catch up on these audiobooks. All right, I do believe these panels back there and on the floor are now dry, so I can take that blue tape off. I have also just started editing this video today, and it's a long one, so if you're still here, thank you. I also find that taking this tape off is one of the most satisfying and also nerve-wracking processes of all of this art painting and making. I'm always nervous even after a painting is completely done and I peel away that tape from the wax, that it comes off cleanly and that nothing seeped underneath, that the edges stayed clean, and I'm kind of hoping for the same thing here. So you're going to get to peel the tape off with me here and see how it goes. All right, here we go. First panel, I found the edge. Now let's see if it comes off cleanly. Please work, please work. Oh, that looks good. That looks really nice. Yay! All right, so I think this came out really nicely. Nice, clean edges. I'm gonna set you up in a fast forward mode here, time-lapse mode, so you don't have to see me spending hours taking off the tape of all of these panels, and then I'll pick you back up for the next and final step, probably tomorrow or maybe sometime later in the week. That won't be tonight. All right, I just wanted to show you how nice and clean these are coming out. I mean, I am impressed. Impressed with us and the quality of these boards. They just look really, really good. And there's not even any art on them yet. Good morning. The very last step to these panels is painting the edges. And I'm going to put it on time lapse because it's not super exciting to watch somebody just paint a bunch of edges. But I thought I'd flip the camera around and show you guys kind of what I do and what I use for these edges. I'm also going to apologize now for the very bad shadows that I'm going to get. It is kind of cloudy, dark out. It's still pretty early in the morning, so I'm not getting much light in the studio at all. And it's supposed to snow again, so that's exciting if you like the snow like we do. But it's bad for the lighting here in the studio, so sorry about the shadows. All right, I use a combination of Van Dyke Brown Golden Fluid Acrylic Paint and acrylic glazing medium, and I mix it in this little ceramic dish. Of course, use a flat brush to paint the edges of the panels with, but this gives it like a stain, little less opaque, more like a stain on the sides of these panels. So as you can see, I'm not real precise when it comes to mixing this up, but I do try to mix up enough for quite a few different panels. You can mix like a 10-to-1 ratio with this, so like 1 part paint to 10 parts glazing medium. So that's a lot, right? So I'm not too concerned about adding too much glazing medium, but what I don't want to do is add too much and then have to put on several layers, because you also don't want to put this on too thick or it stays really tacky. And that is definitely not what I want to do. So at any rate, I'm going to get to painting these panels now. All right, guys, these panels are now done. Took me most of the day to get these edges painted, but I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you because I really do think they look really nice. And of course, there's no painting on them yet, but I'm really happy with how the gesso turned out. It's nice and smooth white surface. So check out Sinopia. Like I said, I'll put the link down below, and stay tuned to see where these little panels go. Maybe not so little. Some of them are pretty big. Anyway, stay tuned to see where they go. So you may be wondering why we go through all of these painstaking steps to create these wood cradle panels when you can just go to your local art supply and buy them. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First, it gives me complete control over the size of paintings. And as you know, with this particular painting series, I worked out what sizes I wanted to create on. So I have complete control over the size. The second reason is it keeps the cost down. Buying these wood cradle panels from the art store could be quite expensive. So it keeps the cost of the art down. Now, I know that time is money, as they say. And while that is true, we actually really enjoy making them, which is the third and final reason why we make them. Matt also loves creating and working with his hands, so he does not mind and actually happily enjoys making them. And it gives us kind of a nice, fun project to do together. Gets him involved with the art as well. I know this was a long video, and so if you are still here, thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it, kind of seeing behind the scenes of what goes into making these panels before any art actually goes on them. If you did enjoy this video, you know what to do. Give me a thumbs up. It really, really does help me out so much. If you aren't subscribed and would consider doing so, that would also help me out. More painting videos are going to be coming your way. If you happen to have any questions about the process, the materials we use, anything like that, leave them down below and I will definitely get back to you on that. And as always, thanks so very, very much for watching. We will talk to you soon. And bye for now.